You earn $80,000 a year. You drive a car that makes your neighbors pause when you pull into the driveway. Your wardrobe is a carefully curated gallery of brand names that scream, "I've made it." To everyone looking in from the outside, you are the success story. But at 3 in the morning, when the house is quiet and the blue light of your phone is the only thing keeping you awake, you're staring at a bank balance that makes your stomach churn. You are one missed paycheck, one unexpected car repair, or one corporate restructuring away from total financial collapse. You feel like a fraud. You feel like a prisoner. And the most frustrating part, you know exactly what you need to do, but for some reason, you just can't stop. But here is the truth that nobody in the finance world is telling you. This isn't a moral failure. It's not because you're lazy, and it's not because you lack discipline. It's because your brain has been hijacked by a specific survival mechanism that mistakes looking successful for actually being successful. You are wearing a crown, but your wrists are in gold-plated handcuffs. And if we don't rewire the specific neural loop today, you aren't just staying broke. You are staying a prisoner to an identity you can't afford to maintain. But the real reason your brain keeps doing this to you, it's much darker than just wanting nice things. Think about the last time you walked into a store or scrolled through an app and saw something that you knew would make you look like the part. Maybe it was a $500 watch or a pair of shoes that cost more than your monthly grocery bill. Be honest with yourself for a second. In that split second, did you feel a sense of power or did you feel a tiny hidden prick of panic? That split-second conflict is where the war for your wealth is won or lost. Most people think they buy things because they like them, but in the world of behavioral finance, we know that's a lie. You're not buying a product, you're buying a status signal, and your brain is wired to prioritize that signal over your actual survival. To understand why, we have to look at your old brain. Millions of years ago, being low status wasn't just an ego blow, it was a death sentence. If you were at the bottom of the tribe, you were the last to eat and the first to be abandoned. Your brain evolved a hypersensitive radar for status because status equaled safety. Fast forward to today, and that same radar is still spinning. When you see your peers posting about their new platinum lifestyle on social media, your amygdala, the brain's fear center, starts screaming. It perceives your average lifestyle as a threat to your survival. It triggers a social displacement alarm. To quiet that alarm, you spend. You buy the success costume to convince the tribe and yourself that you're safe. But in the modern world, this survival instinct has become an extinction event for your bank account. This is what I call the status survival loop. You feel a sense of inadequacy or relative poverty because of what you see others doing. This triggers stress. Stress demands a dopamine hit to regulate your emotions. You buy something expensive. You get a temporary rush of status-driven dopamine. But then the credit card bill arrives. The bill triggers more stress, which leads to more inadequacy, which leads to more spending. You're running on a treadmill that's powered by your own anxiety. But here's where things get interesting and a little terrifying. Your brain doesn't just want the item, it wants the reaction of others to the item. There's a part of your brain called the anterior cingulate cortex. It's responsible for monitoring social hierarchies. Every time you get a compliment on that designer hoodie or someone asks about your new car, that circuit lights up like a Christmas tree. It feels better than a pay raise. It feels like success. But it's a phantom success. It's perceived value versus actual value. You've been programmed to trade your future freedom for a temporary hit of social validation. Now, think about your own life. Which one are you? Are you the person who earns 60,000 and lives like they earn 40, or are you the person who earns 90,000 and lives like they earn 110,000? If you're the latter, you're currently paying a social tax that's keeping you broke. You're literally paying interest on the money you borrowed to impress people who aren't even paying attention to you. But what if I told you that looking rich is actually a neurological barrier to becoming rich? When you spend money on the symbols of wealth, you're draining the very fuel you need to build the reality of wealth. It's a resource misallocation in your prefrontal cortex. Your brain's executive function, the part that handles long-term planning, is being overridden by the old brain's demand for instant status. Imagine your brain is a theater. The rewired brain focuses on the plot, the substance, the investments, the freedom, but the old brain is obsessed with the props. It wants the fancy curtains, the gold-painted chairs, and the expensive lighting. It doesn't matter if the play is a disaster, as long as the stage looks expensive. Sadly, most people spend their entire lives perfecting the props, while the actual plot of their life is a tragedy of debt and regret. So, how do we break the chains? How do we stop the prisoner cycle shown in that thumbnail? It starts with recognizing the neural hijack the moment it happens. The next time you feel that burning desire to buy something that looks rich, I want you to pause and ask yourself, am I buying this for the utility, or am I buying this to quiet my amygdala? If the answer is the latter, you're not buying a product, you're buying a temporary sedative for your social anxiety. This is where we move from the old brain to the rewired brain. The rewired brain understands a concept called inconspicuous consumption. Truly wealthy people, the ones who stay wealthy for generations, often dress in a way that is intentionally average. Why? Because they don't need the social signal to feel safe. Their safety is reflected in their balance sheet, not their belt buckle. They've decoupled their identity from their possessions. They've realized that the greatest status symbol in the world isn't a car you can't afford. It's the ability to walk away from any situation because you have forget you money in the bank. But here's the strange part that most people never realize. Your brain actually gets addicted to the stress of looking rich. There's a twisted sense of comfort in the struggle. It gives you a why for your unhappiness. I'm stressed because I have all these bills is an easier narrative for the brain to handle than I'm stressed because I don't know who I am without these things. This is an identity conflict. If you stop looking rich, who are you? If you take off the LV cap and sell the luxury car, what is left? For many of you, that question is more terrifying than being broke. But staying in that prisoner state has a massive hidden cost. It's not just the money, it's the cognitive load. When you are constantly managing an image you can't afford, a huge portion of your brain's processing power is dedicated to maintaining the lie. You have less creativity for your job, less emotional energy for your family, and less mental clarity to actually find ways to increase your income. You are literally making yourself dumber by trying to look better. Statistics show that the average American household carries over $7,000 in credit card debt. Most of that isn't from buying bread and milk, it's from lifestyle creep, the slow, silent expansion of your lifestyle costume as your income grows. You earn an extra $10,000 a year, and instead of that money going into your freedom fund, it goes into a higher car payment. You've just traded your future for a leather interior. Let's be honest for a moment. You know that feeling of relief you get right after you buy something new? That wash of, I finally got it. That is your brain releasing a flood of opioids. It's a reward circuit being triggered. But just like any drug, the dose has to keep getting bigger to get the same high. This year, it's the shoes. Next year, it's the vacation. The year after that, it's the house you can't really afford. You are chasing a ghost. The brutal truth is that the system is designed to keep you in this loop. Every advertisement, every social media algorithm, and every buy now, pay later button is a sophisticated tool designed to bypass your prefrontal cortex and speak directly to your old brain. They want you to stay a prisoner. They want you to be so busy managing your debt that you never have the time or mental energy to actually find ways to increase your income. So, how do we fix it? We start by rewiring the reward. We have to train your brain to get a dopamine hit from seeing your numbers go up, not from seeing your items pile up. This requires a deliberate shift in your internal narrative. You have to start viewing every dollar you save not as depriving yourself, but as buying back your life. Every $1,000 in your brokerage account is a link in those gold chains being snapped off. Think about it this way. What would your life look like if you didn't care what anyone thought of your car or your clothes? How much lighter would your shoulders feel? That weight you're carrying, the one that makes you sweat like the guy in the thumbnail, is the weight of other people's opinions. And the rewired brain knows that those opinions are the most expensive things you will ever buy. However, even when you finally snap those gold chains and fill your bank account, you might run into a new, stranger problem. You might find that even with a high balance, you still feel broke. You still feel that same 3 a.m. anxiety as if your brain is still in a cage. That's because there's a specific psychological ceiling that makes it so more money, on its own, never actually feels like enough. And unless you understand why your brain is moving the goalposts, you'll still be a prisoner, just in a more expensive cell. I break down exactly why that happens and how to fix that internal hunger in this video.